Welcome to our world. Won't you come on in? Waiting just for you. Welcome to our world.
So this is part 3. No, I'm just kidding. This is halfway through part 2.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
great.
yeah.
Okay. So we're already through part 2. I'm letting the 5-year-old boy and the mother through. Whatever.
Which their
Which is-
response should have been, thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
so much. Okay. And especially because once I saw that they had a couple of fast passes at Flight of Passage, I also realized you're trying to game the system and that's not fair.
Yeah.
So then I was more so like, no, you're not
Yeah,
going. Okay.
right.
So I already am doing too much there. And then
Right.
I do too much more because then there's like a little 2-year-old boy.
Mhm.
And then this other woman's like, what, you're going to make him go without his brother? And I was
Yeah.
like, okay, by all means, the 2 little boys and the mother,
Uh-huh.
go ahead.
Mhm.
Okay. And then the woman that said that was like, oh, she can't handle both of them by herself. So I'm just getting annoyed, and I don't remember if I argued that point or whatever. I think I was probably just in my head freaking out and not wanting to cause a scene.
Right.
So I'm like, fine, you 2 and the 2 boys, go ahead. So at this point, I have let 4 people in on 1 fast pass. Okay.
Right.
I've already done too much considering the fact that they were giving me attitude already. All right, done.
Yep.
Those 4 start going, and then they're trying to argue, and a fast pass line is building up behind them, mind you, okay? Because people that actually have fast passes
Right.
are waiting to come through.
Right.
And there were, I think it was 3 guys, like men
Uh-huh.
that, didn't have fast passes and weren't going to get to go, and they're, telling me,
They're mad.
they're mad at me, like, you're really going to make them all go without us? And at this point, I'm like, yes, they can go. You can wait for them. The exit's
Yeah.
right over here in the
Yeah.
nicest way possible. I'm not being mean.
Mhm.
I'm not being mean at all.
Mhm.
I think I'm being very reasonable and nice in this situation, okay?
Mhm.
Now, this man says to me what I hate this so much
Mhm.
that I will remember this for the rest of my life
Mhm.
because I wish, have you seen Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind?
I think I did, but a
With
long
Jim
time
Carrey
ago.
and Kate Winslet. It's about whatever. Long story short, they're together, they break up. He's like so devastated, and he tries going through this like brain zapping stuff, if I'm remembering correctly, to forget her so that he is
Can go
not
on.
hung up on her and
Yeah.
like move on with his life, right?
Yep.
That's how I feel about this moment. If that thing existed, which I know templates of it do, that I could actually zap the part of my brain where this story is and I could just forget about it, I would spend so much money to forget about this experience because I hate that it's still in my brain,
Yeah.
that this man has taken up so much space,
Yep.
even just this
Yep.
tiny amount of space in my brain.
So what happened?
Sorry. I'm just
I
getting
know.
heated now.
I know.
Okay. So he says to me, "You're going to let us all through, and I'm going to tell you why." And I'm like, I don't actually say anything out loud because he doesn't want me to
Uh-huh.
say anything out loud.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say anything good anyway.
Right.
But in my head, I'm like,
Right.
by all means, please explain to me why I'm going to let you through. Go ahead.
Yeah.
And he says, "You're going to let us all through the line because we are platinum pass holders, and I make more money in 1 year than you'll make in your entire life." End scene. Okay. He says that. And my initial reaction to this is, what part of that makes you think that I would want to let you through now? Where in there did you say something that would change my mind about letting you through?
This is the part when you told your mother and I this story the first time.
Yes. And I'm not exaggerating. That's exactly what he said.
No, I completely get it. I so much wish I had been there. And
Yeah.
not just because it was you,
Yeah.
right? Like obviously more so because it was you. I would have loved to be standing there,
Mhm.
especially if I was in the standby line, but it doesn't matter. I could have just been standing there, say I was waiting for someone to get off a ride or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I would have loved to be standing there and hear him say that.
Yeah.
I would have loved to. And I know, I'm guessing before you even say what happened after this, I'm guessing at this point, a million things were going through your head,
Mm-hmm.
things you couldn't say maybe
No.
that you'd want to say. I almost feel like the perfect thing would have been, I'm very happy for you, sir. You can't, you don't have a fast pass. You still don't have a fast pass.
Yeah.
You know?
I don't remember even what I responded, but it was still
just,
you cannot come.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Through.
Just for my own sake, platinum members do not have automatic fast pass rights, do they?
Well,
I guess he didn't understand that.
No, he didn't. But I mean, at this point, they pretty much do because you can just spend the money and buy your fast pass. So he wins, I guess, at the end of the day. Good for him.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he tells me that. And like I said, that sentence, I just can't, it'll never leave my brain. And I hate that and whatever. So he says that. And I say something along the lines of, okay, well, they can go through and you can't still. That's where we're at. Okay. The good
thing is you didn't back down.
No, I didn't. Okay. But it didn't.
I know it didn't make it better, but that's the part that I would want to remember anyway.
But so in this situation, and it would have been enough. Okay. But the situation did not end there. They converse outside for a minute or two. I let a few people through FastPass that actually have FastPasses. And they come back and they're like, okay, we're going to go through. Just the 4. Mm-hmm. The 4 that I graciously let through FastPass. Okay. Then the 3 guys, as the women start going through FastPass, the 3 guys start going through the standby line. And they start, because I'm right there. I'm like I said, I'm sandwiched between the 2 lines. Okay. Right in front of me, they start like pushing through people and saying like, excuse me, my family is ahead. Okay. And so I'm like, I don't know, because I'm already in this situation. And keep in mind, how old am I at this time? 20, what was I? 23? No, that's too old. 22? This was right after I'm out of school. 22, maybe? Okay. So I'm like, not a child, but I'm also not,
Yeah.
I haven't hit the point where my brain is fully developed. Like I'm like,
okay. I haven't
freaking out a little bit about this. Okay. Well, I'm just, because they say your brain fully develops 25.
I know.
And so it just happened that right at that time, rotation was coming through. So I was being moved to a new position. Okay. I get moved to another position outside, but I see what's happening with them getting through. Okay. And I'm like, that's not okay. I go inside. There's a coordinator who I'm not going to say because I don't, not that this podcast is ever going to blow up. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. I'm not trying to throw him under the bus because I liked him. He was a good coordinator. I go in there, he's there. And I said, hey, I just want to let you know, I had this situation with a family outside. It was not great. They were not a nice family. And I let a couple of them through FastPass, but there are more that are cutting through the line right now. So if you could just, when they get down here, like I'll point them out. If you could just make sure that they don't get to cut in front of all those people. Mm-hmm. Coordinator's like, yeah, I got your back. What a lie. What a lie.
And you still like this coordinator?
So, I mean, after that, I obviously haven't seen him in, a few years now at this point. No, I did. Because in his situation, it's also like, this all happened very quickly.
Right.
It was not me being able to tell a 5-minute story about what just happened. Mm-hmm. It was me saying like, this family was awful. Some of them are cutting through the line. Can you stop them?
Right.
And him being like, okay.
He didn't see everything that happened either.
And it's like, you're a coordinator. You also aren't trying to cause a scene. And like, it's a whole thing, right? So that's what I'm saying. I understand. And he's not a bad person. So I see the 4 that I let through FastPass. They come down and they're getting grouped into, they're getting grouped into a boat. Literally like 20 seconds later, I see the guys pushing their way through the rest of the line. And I'm like, I almost said his name. I was like, to the coordinator, I'm like, those are the guys. Point them out. They're right there. And I don't really remember specifically what he does in this situation. I just know that he doesn't do anything. Okay. I don't remember what he says, whatever. All this to say, so these guys work their way through. They get to the grouper. Grouper's like, whoa, chill out, guys. And they're like, that's our family right there. And the grouper's like, oh, go ahead. So I'm standing there while this family is all now in line and all getting on a boat together. And I remember just looking at this coordinator and being like, what the actual heck?
Yeah.
And I said this. I'm like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? And so they ride the ride, and not to be mean here about this particular ride. It is not worth the wait. It's not worth a 2-hour wait.
No, it's a nice ride.
Anybody that ever asked me if it was worth 2 hours or even an hour or even 45 minutes, if they came up and asked me, is this ride worth the wait? I would always say no.
Yeah.
I would say I would wait maybe 20 minutes for this. Maybe. Don't wait more than that. Okay. I remember because I was still standing there. I was very heated. I remember they come back around. It's a 5-minute ride. They come back around. They get off. And I hear one of the guys saying how that was the stupidest ride. Not worth the wait. And I'm like, I know. You could have asked me that and I would have told you. Yeah, not worth the wait. Joke, right? I, at this point, am now crying, like about to cry. So I go backstage so that I'm not crying in front of people. I go backstage. I'm back there. I get some water, whatever. Maybe this is super dramatic of me. I don't know. But if you had been there or anybody had been there, I think you would understand like this situation in particular.
Yep.
I come out and I go back up to like the position that I was in up top, like outside. And this coordinator comes out to me and he goes, hey, I'm so sorry. Like that all just happened really quickly, whatever. And I was like, it's fine. I kind of just want to try to forget about it, which obviously I have not been successful at. And he says to me, no, they actually, after they got off, they talked to me and they were super nice. And I was like, that's great for you. I love that for you. Okay. Yeah. And he says, and I think, well, maybe you remember this part. He says, no, they honestly, and they wanted me to apologize to you too, because they said they've been having an awful day. Nothing's worked out. And a bird like pooped on one of them and all this stuff. And I'm like, I almost just said the coordinator's name again. I was like, I could not care less. I don't want to hear anything else about them. Sorry that they're having a crappy day, whatever.
Did you tell him ever what the guy said to you?
Yeah.
Because to me, that would be enough to be like, no, it doesn't matter how bad of a day you're having. Yeah, I do not do that.
I would never say anything like that to anyone.
No.
And it's like a classic customer service hospitality industry issue is people being so rude to the guest-facing person, and then when a supervisor or manager comes out, like doing a complete 180 and being the nicest person ever, and then the supervisor or manager being like, well, they were nice to me, so I gave them what they wanted because I don't know what you were talking about, but they were nice to me.
Yeah.
And me being like, well, I'm traumatized, so I'm glad you feel like you handled the situation well, but I will never be able to forget this.
Right.
So that was just a horrendous time, and it was just, I don't even know why, because now when saying it like that, obviously his statement was not okay and stupid. The situation itself is kind of like whatever, but I just feel maybe it was just because of what he said and like how mean they were to me that it was just awful.
That's what I'm saying. You don't know how much I wish I was there.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's obviously the fact that it was you, for me, makes it worse. But it's not, it's just the fact that like, you don't do that. You don't treat people like that.
Yes.
You don't, it is such a slimy, low life thing to treat someone who literally has very little power in that situation.
I had none.
Well, that's what I mean. The power you had, could you have just said, I'm done, and you could have started hauling off at the guy and yelled and said whatever you want.
Sometimes I wish I had.
But then you're out of a job. Then what are you doing? And then afterward, you're thinking to yourself, why didn't I just control my emotions, control my temper, just sort of let it go?
Conceal, don't feel.
Yeah. And honestly, I don't know what's the better option. Sometimes I wonder, right? Sometimes I wonder.
Yeah. I don't know either. I think in those situations, not that I would have expected this from anybody around, but like kind of like you were saying earlier, having maybe bystanders saying something is probably the best thing that could happen in that situation.
That's why I wish I was there.
To have if some of the people on standby had been like, okay, she said no, just leave her alone. There's a line behind you. Can you like move it along?
It almost bothers me as much because from what you're saying, there had to be people that saw what was going on.
100%.
Okay. And the fact that that no one said anything to this guy to basically back you up a little bit because you were doing the right thing,
I felt like I was.
I just it'd be funny if we had video of this and we went back and it was completely different than what you're saying. Like the guy really was, they were the nicest guy. And you were actually the one that said that to him.
Yeah, right.
I'm not letting you through because I make more in 1 year than you'll make in your entire life.
Just a wild thing to say to someone. How does that insult even begin forming in your brain to say to someone?
And to
say to I don't even know.
Something is mentally wrong with anyone who thinks that is somehow, that literally makes him better than you.
Yeah.
That it comes down to money.
Yeah.
Anyone who really feels that way, you have an issue. You have a serious issue. If that's life to you, is having as many dollars as you can have so you can go, act like a big shot, something is wrong with you.
Yeah. I know we're not to the happy part yet, but I want to make a point, because in my experience and like my coworkers' experience, I feel like with annual pass holders specifically, I would say it's a pretty even split, half and half. 50% are on his level, maybe not as bad with, how awful that interaction was for me, but entitled, and I'm a pass holder, so you're going to let me through, right? Or something like that. And the other half are genuinely the sweetest people that, like, during Christmas, they'll bring you candy and like gift cards for things and just hand out bags to cast members as they're going through lines. Like, you genuinely have two completely different sets of people.
It's one thing if somebody would say, well, I'm an annual pass holder, not knowing, thinking maybe that they get some extra perk or whatever.
Right, yeah.
But
you could always tell the way that they said it, whether or not they meant it like that or a different way.
Or just throwing it out there. Would this make a difference kind of thing?
So then another, I guess, issue you would say is so at Disney, they have the disability access service, and it's different now, again, than it was when I was there. But at the time, this is for people with disabilities, so that if they don't have the ability to wait in an 8-hour line, you basically go, this is at the time how it worked. You could go to the front. Yeah, you go to the entrance of whatever ride you want to ride, and you get a return time. And the return time is based on the current wait time. So if it's an 8-hour wait for Flight of Passage, I think it takes off an hour maybe on the wait time or something like that. I don't remember what it was at the time. But so let's say it's an hour wait, or an 8-hour wait, it takes off an hour. So your return time, if you get your disability access service pass at 8 in the morning, and it's an 8-hour wait at 8 in the morning, your return time is 7 hours later. Okay. So 3 o'clock, right? Okay. Thank you for the math.
I know, it's
3 o'clock. Okay. And so it's still fair because you're still waiting the same time that everyone else is waiting.
Well, you're waiting an hour less, technically.
Well, I know, but I'm just saying.
But you have to come back twice, so it's fair.
You have to come back, yeah. And so the point is, that's how it used to be. I don't think you have to. Right. I think you could do it from wherever now, which is kind of not whatever. Right. Anyway,
but at least it's more or less fair.
Yes,
it would.
It's as fair as they could possibly. Yeah. I think make that again at the time. I don't know how it works now because I know they did change it. So I had this group. It was, let's say, 10 people. Okay. This is the story I was just telling you that you told me to stop so that we could record this podcast. So I hope the suspense, the hour and a half long suspense, is worth this story. Guy comes up to me. In their group, they have 2 disability passes because you can use, I think one pass covers. Oh, actually, no, there were 8 then because one pass covered at the time 4 people. Okay. So they had 2 because they had 2 children that had, whatever type of disability. He comes up to me again at Navi River Journey to get a return time. I scan his pass. I see that there are 8 of them standing there. The pass that I scanned, 4 of them had a return time already for Flight of Passage. Okay. So I tell him this. I say, it looks like this one already has a return time for that. You can only have one return time at a time. That's another thing. So you can't be going around the park just getting a bunch of passes and then hitting them all at once. You have to wait the 7 hours, go on the ride, and then you can get another return time. So that's how they also make it fair. You know what I mean?
That's a little screwy though, because...
Why? That's what everybody else has to do is wait the time. True. That's the point. Because the only issue with the point of the disability pass is if you cannot physically wait in the line. That's the whole point of it. It is not to get you through anything quicker. It's just so you don't have to wait in the physical line. Okay.
Yeah. You don't remember. What type of disabilities the kids had or anything like that?
I don't remember.
Okay.
If I remember correctly, it wasn't like a physical thing that I could see. So I don't remember what it was, though.
Yeah, I guess it really doesn't matter.
So yeah, I see that they have 4 for Flight of Passage. And not trying to be negative, but at this point in my mind, I'm like, okay, are we trying to do another game the system thing where 4 of you have the fast pass for Flight of Passage and you're going to try to bring the other 4 of you and say, well, half and half, whatever. That's another way to quote unquote game the system with the Disability Access Service Pass. Because 4 of them didn't have anything. So I made the return time for the other 4. And I explained to this man, just so you know, when you come back, only the 4 people that have this can ride it. They will not let the other 4 people on. So it's just the 4 of you. He's like, yeah, I know. We've been doing this all day. And I'm like, you've been doing what all day? Okay, I didn't say that, right? In my head, though, I'm like, I don't really, he wasn't rude per se, but I just got the feeling like you know a little too well what you're doing right here.
Yep.
So right after I got rotated out of that position, one of my coordinators was there and I said to her, hey, just so you know, and actually this is a good story. Maybe I should have saved this one for later. Should I pause this?
Yeah, we should.
And tell it at the end?
Well, pause it, or
I'll
should
pause
we pick
this.
up later?
No, I'm going to pause.
Okay.
No,
Okay.
Hold on.
Okay.
So let me pause this story here by saying I went to my coordinator at the time and I said, hey, just so you know, I just made a return time for a group of 8. There were only 4 of them. I kind of have a feeling they're all going to try to get through later. And she was like, I'm on it. And I was like, sick, let's go.
See, that's great. If you have someone who's like,
I know.
You know.
So we'll return to this story at the end because this is, that would be a great note to end on.
I guess the point is it's great to make magic for people who are not slimy people.
Exactly.
So anyway.
Exactly. Should I, because part of the thing though is I want to go, should I tell other Pandora stories or jump ahead to a bad story? Because I only have good stories. Okay, well, anyway, stop that. One of my favorite things in Pandora, I have to tell some good stories and then I'll tell a bad story and then we'll get back to that one, okay? Just a second.
Okay.
Just a second.
I just wanted the one story.
This is going to be, we are now in the middle of part 3.
I know.
Just hold on, okay?
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sweating. You're stressing me out. I also have to go to work in a second, okay? Your mic's not on.
Actually, you're late for work.
Here. No, I'm not. I used to love because they still gave paper fast passes out at the time that I worked there. They did not have them like from the machines that you could get them, but they had them as like a making magic kind of thing, or like guest services handed them out when people had issues and stuff like that. What we did as cast members, okay, let me not say it like that. Some cast members would keep the paper tickets for when they were in the parks and use them for themselves, which is not okay. And I want to make that clear. They don't have those anymore, I don't think. Maybe they do. I don't know. But what I would do is I would take the whole stack whenever I got to the one position that they had them at. It was a merge that they had them. I would take the whole stack, put it in my pocket, and then the next time I was out, on like land duty is what they called it, in one of those positions, I was just walking around and I saw nice people. I would just give them a bunch of fast passes and be like, go, have a great day. Yeah. And they would always, I remember, and because they expired at the end of the month, at the end of every month was always the best time for me if I was out in the land, because I would literally have a stack of like 40 fast passes. Yeah. And some of them covered up to 5 people. So I have a ton of fast passes. Yeah. I meet a nice family. Guess what? You're about to have the best day of your life right now. Yeah. Take these and go use them on every single ride.
Live your dream.
And I did that so many times, and it was such a good feeling. And I remember there was one time, it was a dad and his little girl. You're going to cry. She was 6, I think at the time, 6 or 7. And I was out on, no, I'll be fine. I was out because I got to get through this quickly now. I was out on land duty and I just started talking to them randomly. Oh, because he wanted to know where Flight of Passage was. Mm-hmm. And so I, walked him over to the ride. We were talking along the way. He explains to me, maybe I will cry. He explains to me that he is there. Thank you. He and his daughter are there alone. Just the 2 of them, because they had planned this trip like 2 years ago, but his wife, just the month prior, had passed away from cancer. And so Jim is crying. And so
I'm kind of laughing too. Anyway, go ahead.
And so he's telling me this. I'm trying not to cry, so he's telling me all this. They are the sweetest people I've ever met. I show him where Flight of Passage is, and I'm like, you know what, though? You're not going to wait in that line today. Yeah. It's like, what do you mean? I was like, I'm going to get you through FastPass right now, and then you're going to come back over and see me at Navi River Journey. And he was like, okay. Because that was the other thing. If you were, wherever you were working on land, whatever, if you just met a nice family and you wanted to make magic, you could also just walk them right up to the front of the ride and tell the person at FastPass, let them through. Yeah. And they let them through. I did that so many times. Just be nice to me and I'll give you whatever you want. Okay. Yeah. So I go up to the guy at FastPass and I'm like, let them through. He lets them through. Okay. Dad's amazed. He's like, I didn't know that was a thing. I'm like, now you do. Okay, come see me at the other ride because they haven't gone on either of these rides yet. Gets off Flight of Passage. His daughter loves it. She's obsessed. I'm freaking out. I'm like, this is great. You guys are having a great day, okay? And then we go over to Navi River Journey. I was like, you want to ride the other one? He was like, oh my God, no, you already let us on that one. I was like, come on, let's go. So I led him through Navi River Journey, and he comes back out. He's tearing up. He's like, this may be the best day of like her life. And he's like talking about his daughter and all this stuff. I'm like, I'm so glad that I can make this happen. We're all tearing up now, okay? It's also towards the end of the month. You know what that means. I got a stack of fast passes in my pocket ready to use, okay? So he's like, yeah, I don't know, because they've also never been to Animal Kingdom before, or maybe even Disney. I don't remember. And so he's like, yeah, we're just going to try to figure out what to do now with the rest of our day at the park, but thank you so much. Like, you've been so kind and all this stuff. I was like, you're about to love me even more. Take these. And I asked over the fast passes. He doesn't even know what they are. He's like, what is this? I was like, these will get you on any single ride you want for the rest of the day. He's like, you're kidding. Obviously. I'm like, I'm not kidding. Go try it on a different ride right now. He's like, you're serious? I'm like, yes, I'm so serious. He starts bawling in the middle of the land, and I'm like trying not to cry because and he's like talking about his wife and talking about his daughter and how much this means and all this stuff. And I'm like, please.
What? A moment.
I know, you'll be fine. So I give them a ton of fast passes. They go. They actually because they go, they do their thing. He came back later to see me before they were leaving the park and say thank you again and all this stuff. And then we actually exchanged like Snapchat names. And I don't have Snapchat anymore, but if I went on there, I'd still see him. We would like Snapchat each other and stuff like a few times, or if nothing else, I would just see his stories of like his daughter doing.
If I were you, I'd want to be on there just to.
Yeah, just to keep up with him.
Yeah, kind of.
And like his daughter. But that was a super sweet.
Imagine how horrible it would have been if then when you were leaving later, you saw him like meeting up with his daughter and some woman and being like, God. Yeah, they fell for it.
They fell for it. That'd be so sad. No, I obviously know though, because I'm friends with him on Snapchat that I know what his life looked like and all that stuff.
Yeah, that's incredible.
I know.
That's an
and that's what
story.
I loved. I love doing stuff like that. Another really
Does that make up?
Yes, that's what I'm saying, 100%.
Because it should. Yep.
Another really great story, really quickly from Pandora, was there was one time, I think I had to have told you this because I told you all of it.
Probably,
there was a lady in a wheelchair. This was again when I was on land duty. She was just sitting in a wheelchair.
Okay, I don't remember this off the top of my head, but hopefully I will.
Just chilling right by the entrance to the ride. And your job on land is just to walk around, talk to people. You need directions or anything. I go over, I start making conversation. Her family just left her to go on Flight of Passage. And I'm like, that's awful. And they didn't even have a fast pass. They just left her there. And they're like, I'm asking where they are in the line. And she's like, I don't know. They still probably have like 2 hours to go or something. So I'm just hanging out. And I was like, no, you're not. Where do you want to go? She's like, what? I was like, come on, let's go. We're going on an adventure. And so I pushed her wheelchair. I was like, what haven't you done today yet? And she's like, oh, well, I really want to see the line.
This is wonderful, but also funny. Hold on. Like, I've got to mute my microphone.
She's like, well, I really wanted to see the Lion King show. I was like, let's go see the Lion King show, my friend. And so, because it's right over the bridge from the other side of Pandora.
I don't remember you telling me.
Okay, well, this happened. And so I take her to go see the Lion King show. And I remember because when I got I come in, because I'm going to let her through Fast Pass, obviously, at the Lion King show.
You just put her in the standby line and you leave.
Okay, anyway, but no. So I get to the front, like to the cast member at the Fast Pass line, and I'm like, hey, we're just here to see the show. And the cast member kind of looks at me, and I was like, if you could maybe just take her in, because we have different costumes for like the different lands, and I'm not trying to mess up the vibe. And I was like, could you maybe take her in, and I'll wait outside? And the cast member's like, oh my God, go with her. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to say no to watching the Lion King show. And so I literally went into the stadium, and we sat in the front row, and I just took my name tag off and we just watched the Lion King. And it was a great time. And then at the time we got off, walked back, I was like, do you want anything to eat or whatever? Like, what are we doing? This was my day. I'm
sorry. I picture like again a camera showing what actually happened. You come on, Granny. I want to see the Lion King.
Right?
Where are you taking me?
Anyway. Okay. But yeah, so then I brought her back, and by that time her family was off and everything. And
wondered where she went.
I mean, they left her there. They couldn't really have cared that much.
They forgot that she was even with them probably by then.
But so that was a really good story too. It was fun, and it was
so
like just
cool.
me making magic. That lady might not have gotten to see the Lion King otherwise.
Yeah, so what was her reaction?
You know, I'm gonna be so honest. She was like, and maybe this is really, this sounds super mean of me to say, but I feel like she could have been more grateful.
Was she like, no, I really would rather wait here. No, you're going.
She said she wanted to, and I took her and everything. And then I'm expecting her, because I've never done something like this before. Yeah. I didn't even know I was able to like go do this stuff. I'm just kind of doing stuff until someone yells at me. Okay. Yeah. And she's just kind of like, yeah, that was cool. And I'm like, what do you mean that was cool? This is like such a big moment for me. Forget about you. My moment. Okay, anyway, but so I thought that was a really nice
you were
time
making magic for yourself.
For myself.
Let's be honest. Okay.
Yeah. Anyway. Okay. So anyway. So that was that. We'll skip ahead. So to kind of try to wrap this up. So I do have good stories is the whole point of this. I have a lot of good stories. I have some bad stories.
Yeah, but are you going over every story now, or were you
no, I'm trying to like speed through the end here. So then after Pandora, I worked in Magic Kingdom and attractions at the Little Mermaid for a hot second. And at the Little Mermaid, you work on the ride, but then you also do the line for like the meet and greet for Ariel. Yep. So a bad story from this is just a quick one. A lady comes up to me. She has, or she tells me she has a fast pass to meet Ariel. Mind you, there's no line. There's nobody in the standby line. And I can see this. We have cameras. There's nobody in the standby line. There's nobody in the fast pass line. Okay. So she comes up. She tells me she has a fast pass. And I was like, oh, it's okay. You can just like go through standby here, whatever. She's like, well, no, scan it. And I was like, okay. So I scan it. She doesn't have a fast pass. And so I say, oh, I don't see anything, but you could just go ahead. Okay. And she's like, no, I have a fast pass. And I was like,
it doesn't matter.
Literally does not matter at all. What do you mean?
You should have just scanned it. Yep, there it is.
I should have just said yes. Yeah. I literally should. I don't know what I was thinking. I should have just said yes and left it there. But she was like, no, and I don't even remember what happened. She's like, no, we had a really bad experience in this place and we went to get services and they gave us a fast pass we could use anywhere. It should be on there. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I just don't see it. Maybe it's an issue with the system. I don't know, but you can go ahead. Go, please. Yeah. Okay? Yeah. This lady, she must have just been having a bad day. I don't know, whatever. Starts yelling at me, okay? And she's like, you don't know what you're doing. You don't know how to do your job. What's your name? What's your name? And I'm wearing a name tag, so I'm like... my name's right here, whatever. She starts getting out like her phone and stuff to record me. And I'm like, if you could not do that, you could just go through the line. Yeah. She's like, okay, well, I'm taking your name down and I'm going to go to guest relations and like complain about you just so you know. And I was like, okay.
Complain for you letting
the open line is still right here. Like, what do you mean? That was
weird.
Just such a weird one because it was like, all I said, and again, that's on me. I just should have been like, yep, there it is. Go ahead. But I was like, I just don't see it, but you could go ahead. That was 100% how the interaction went. And she was like, what do you mean it's not there? And I'm like, it literally doesn't matter at all. Go ahead. And she just completely freaked out. And that was just a stupid interaction.
That's weird.
So after that, I wound up moving back to food and beverage. I was on the opening team for Sebastian's Bistro at Caribbean Beach. I worked there as like the hostess, a signer. I was also a trainer there in the GT. And then, I'm out of breath. There's a lot of talking. We didn't take any break in the middle of this. I'm kind of sweating a little bit, which I had a lot of good interactions with people at Sebastian's too. After that, long story short, they downsized. So I got like TA'd to Olivia's Cafe.
What's TA'd?
Like they had to send me off.
I know. What does it stand for? I mean.
Training assignment maybe or something.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, they had to send me off because they couldn't keep me there, but they were going to bring me back. So I was at Olivia's Cafe at Old Key West Resort for a couple of months. And then they brought me back as a coordinator, so like a shift supervisor kind of person at Caribbean Beach for the restaurants there. And then at this time, I was also cross-trained at Kona Cafe at the Polynesian. And then, yeah, so I'm the coordinator. And then at this time, actually a couple of months before that, I think, I also became a training facilitator at Disney University, which that was my favorite job. And I would love to do stuff like that again. That was like teaching the classes at Disney University. That was so much fun. And then I left Disney for undisclosed reasons. So what happened was, with this, to wrap up this, do you have any questions?
You should apply to be a training coordinator, training facilitator, trainer.
So what happened was, back to this story about the Disability Access Service pass.
Mm-hmm.
I had told my coordinator, I think this guy's going to come back and, maybe be an issue. And she was like, I'm on it. I, fortuitously enough, was actually up at FastPass when they were coming back through. And this is where I cut off the story earlier, where I saw them in the distance coming towards me. And I was like, oh no, it's their return time, isn't it? And I remember at this time also like physically shaking and being like, this is going to be an awful interaction. I just feel it already. So they come up, he scans, and I was like, yep, you got 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 more people behind him. He's like, no, they're with us. And I was like, ooh. So the unfortunate thing about that, sir, is that I was the one that made your return time. And I do recall telling you that only 4 of you
How did you
actually
say it to him?
I said, not as witty as that maybe, but I said, actually, I was the one that made your return time earlier, and I'm so sorry, but only 4 of you can go through, and I know I told you that.
Yeah.
So only 4 of you can go through.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I said it.
And you were okay with that?
I don't remember if I said that part or not.
No, but I'm saying, well, yeah.
That he was okay.
He said he was okay with that.
I did not. I don't think I said that. But then he starts like causing a scene a little bit and saying like, you're really not going to let us through and blah, blah, blah. And we know how to use this and we've been doing this all day. And I was just kind of standing there because I was like, I already know I've told you this. And so I don't really have anything else to say. And then the person that like the other cast member that was up there with me, while this is happening, she knew about this too. So she calls down to the coordinator. She's like, come on up.
Yeah.
Coordinator comes up. And so he's still like kind of yelling at me. Coordinator comes up, goes right in front of like me so that the guy's not yelling at me. She goes, first of all, you're going to talk to me and you're not going to yell at her. And I was like, yes, let's go.
Yeah.
And so he's like, well, I'm just going to tell you what happened. And she goes, actually, sir, I'm going to stop you right there because she actually already explained the situation to me. Like when she first made your reservation time and she told me there are 4 of you. So 4 of you can go ahead. And then the other 4 of you that had the return time for Avatar Flight of Passage are free to do that. That's all there is. And this guy, he was so angry, but he didn't yell like at her. He was just like, this is the stupidest thing. She's like, all right, well, the 4 of you can go ahead and enjoy it and the other 4 cannot.
Yeah.
And like that was it. And I was like, I wish everyone were like this because if supervisors and managers actually supported their team members, working would be an easier thing to do. Places.
So why don't you get a job back at Disney as that person? Wouldn't you love to do that?
Yes, but I feel like the issue with that person is you can really only do that so many times because if that guy, which I know he didn't do this because she's still there, or maybe he did and whatever, that guy, those situations add up and you have 10 people with these incidences that are going to guest relations complaining about a cast member, that cast member is getting demoted or fired. That's just the way that it is.
Though, here's the thing.
For right or for wrong.
Well, shouldn't every level of management support the level below them, right? Now, granted, if someone really is an issue, okay, then you have to deal with it, right? I'm saying if the cast member, whatever level they're at, is an issue, you have to deal with it. But if there are bad guests. Clearly, there are bad guests.
Yeah.
And if, in the end, if Disney or any company is going to have this attitude that the guest is always right, okay?
Well, that's what it is.
They're wrong,
Look, I know this and you know this. Yeah. I actually, my friend Noelle, because she has worked for Disney and for Universal, she said it's 2 completely different companies. Disney is, the guest is always right. And that's their brand and that works for them. Universal, I don't know what the actual tagline would be, but like any guest situation, it's immediately we're backing the team member and you can leave because the team member is our priority. Yeah. It's 2 completely different situations.
Yeah. And is it definitely Disney or is it that you have some good managers and some bad managers, coordinators,
it's just
whatever?
how Disney is.
Yeah. No, that's frustrating.
Yeah, I don't. Not that you don't have people that would support you, because like Ishvan 100% would do the same thing if I had called him up for something. Yeah, he was a coordinator then at that point too. But like you, at the end of the day, that is Disney's thing. The guest is right. They know guests come to Disney knowing if I complain enough, and if
That's sad though. That's sad though because in those cases, right? So you have people above you that you know are good, and they're doing the right thing. And what you're saying is, if they do the right thing too often, they're gone.
Correct. Yes.
That's just so frustrating.
I know. So anyway, I guess
time to wrap this up.
Time to wrap it up. That's my time at Disney.
Wow.
I wish I had a better exit for this. I don't.
No, I think
some good things, some bad things.
The training thing.
I know. I did really like training. That was a fun time.
Yeah. You could train people to back up their subordinates.
Yeah, right.
So
I hope
train people to yell at rude guests.
I hope this 3-part episode was exciting.
No,
and if it wasn't,
I don't know if 3 will be
If it wasn't, then I apologize. And this is the only time you'll hear about it, so don't worry about it.
It will be one.
If you have any questions or feedback, please let us know.
We're at 1.5 hours.
Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, all of that
Definitely
stuff.
comment. Definitely.
Yeah, we would love
to hear
feedback.
comments on this.
Okay, well, hope you all have a great day.
Bye.
I won't. Okay, so this is a list of 10 diseases that are unexplainable as the sources of these diseases have not been traced.
I thought you said 8 diseases.
Oh, I didn't say. Wait, that's confusing. Well, no, I'm really not credible. Maybe they can. Maybe they can partially explain.
We'll just gloss over that.
Okay, well.
Wow, at the time you started reading this, now there are 2 more unexplainable diseases.
If you're just...
Probably variants of the first 8. Hurry up, we'll be up to 24 by the time you get done.
If you're just joining us now. There are at least 8 diseases. Okay, I'm done here.
Go ahead. I'm interested in this. Maybe nobody else is, but I'm very interested in this.
That's all that matters, isn't it?
It is.